Welcome to Wicso 21, supposedly. But yeah, let's start with the video. Last episode I said that I'm sorry for that inconvenience. Okay, why the was he trying to act fast? But of course we're starting with a civil war in the Middle East. As I said in the last episode, this starts due to the nobles coup arrange a military coup against the the migrant government in order to restore their national pride. The war quickly becomes an ethnic war with many, mostly the army in border regions, and some peasants which would like to have and some peasants which would rebel in the outskirts of the city and its neighboring cities, what caused informal civil war. The kingdom had already pledged to the Arabic Of course, the Mesopotamians strike back. I'm talking about the people who are not of Arabic descent, Mesopotamians. So the war would quickly go as well as expected, as the north is quickly cleaned up, the border ranges are quickly encircled, and slowly but surely the original government fails, with some trying to escape. The war ended with a minor extension to the desert, and then really nothing else. But let's look to other areas. And yes, that will actually be Greece. This will be the Greek annexation of Epirus. The Greeks are finally finishing their dreams of conquest. And reuniting their lost peninsula. Epirus now becomes a part of the Greeks, which are very antagonistic and are painted by most of the world as bad people. But the Greeks view themselves as restoring the old order. They are way more traditionalist than anybody else, especially the Romans and especially the Romans and the Northern Europeans, which their civilizations are only somewhere around 300 years old. But the main tension would start in the Greeks forming an alliance, the Square Team. The Square Team would be formed as a Greek interest group, basically to secure Greek interests. Now, while Greece has some ambition into Anatolia actually broke off of the Orange Team, so the Anatolians have a favorable view of the Greeks. So of course, Laurasia adapts joins the Greek team. This is the same for the Crimea and territories and the Empire of Iberia. I guess I'm gonna put it there. Okay. Now Lusatia hates them. Now Egypt could join them, but it rather chooses to stay neutral. These are massive tensions, but we will not cover them in this video. But what we'll cover is India. Last episode, India wasn't really talked about, there were some exploration missions and yada yada yada. But today we'll be talking about the finishing of colonization for India. This was mainly start with in north central areas near India, which, similar to the Europeans, would form an alliance against the Bengalese, which would seek to expand, which were planning for expansion. The alliance would eventually transform into a full-on kingdom, an elective monarchy, actually, just an elective monarchy. This elective monarchy would didn't have technically any capital, so they decided to build a new one. This will be, but they needed a very justification, so they attacked their rival, or so-called rival, as the strength is massively different. They moved here, and they got these territories. Allowing for them to create a new city. This will become the new capital city and would be cause the formation of central India. This is the city where all the tribes would have their conferences in. The Confederacy would move south into the Blue Team outposts for basically trade and exploration. Speaking of them, they would start colonizing the entire East Indian coast. Along with that, many people would start a new life in these colonies, which are mainly in the southwestern coast of India, and the colonial rivalry between the Ethiopians and the Blue Team, which has moved its main control into the Persian Gulf. As its homeland, actually, its home cities are not even inhabited mainly by Blue Team ethnicities. I can't say. I don't want to have an ethnicity map. I think it's not that good. I think I should add a religion one in the future, but currently it's no need. Yeah, that color. So we see massive growth. So all these threats would move into central India, but central India and southern India would basically comply, become a tribal mess. So this will become a battle royale and will be covered in the future. Of course, we will see something different. And that is through the formation of these areas. Along with that, colonization of areas up here. This area becomes pretty populous actually. I mean, historically, this area became the most important areas for trade and things. But now we're going to move even more east. We're going to start with of course China. So yeah, we're gonna be starting with the Chinese. The Chinese move a lot. They are moving west into the west and are expanding rapidly. Which this would absolutely destroy the power balance between the Koreans and the Chinese. The Koreans are mainly traders, and so they want to protect trade routes for themselves, and they want personalized trade routes, as they are the most important part of the trade enterprise. As you can currently see, they have with closer Chinese cities and a way closer connection could be made, and the Koreans want to secure that that connection cannot be made. So, through some basic intrigue, the Koreans tell some people in the middle to stop any trade here, and, in order to do that and to maintain their loyalty, the Koreans form an eastern base and forming it into an enclave. Many cities are popping up here, but things would go terribly. There's a native population, along with that, some monarchical disputes lead to this area quickly breaking off, just right after it's formed and becoming the new country of northern China. But they would still be relatively friendly with Korea in a peace, according to the peace treaty, as the Koreans feel relatively overextended. So we see massive growth of the Koreans becoming this area. This is of course this is a great Korean merchant enterprise. So yeah, but now we're going to move into the Fergana area, which will have a relatively natural split at first, as the Turkestan country has minor ambitions in the in this territory, which is parts of Afghanistan, Iran, mainly Tajikistan, centered around Tajikistan. I'm gonna call this area Fergana, though this isn't of it. This has barely any parts of the Fergana Valley. And I'm calling the area this is the original split, and most people have been pretty content with the original split, but nomadic problems require nomadic solutions. So yes, these two go to war over this fertile area with massive ethnic mix-up. This is their justification, and invade the valley, quickly conquering the newly formed mountain villages and submitted villages, moving east, making them feel a bit angry. But now the Turkestan area would strike back, moving into their city areas. But this would cause this war, which would eventually end in which would go on for a while. But eventually, the blue team decides to do basically a special operation, or what it could be in basically the ancient classic period. So yeah, we see this. With the capturing of the capital, so the blue team in its special operation demands tribute, or more, or as they call it, war reparations for the raids that they and the former nomadic empire have done, and all occupied land is ceded to whoever controls it. So yeah, we got some new and reshaped borders, some new civs, and with this we'll be opting out. Goodbye.